The program components for Wit and Wisdom vary depending on the audience. Teachers will have access to the implementation guide, Module 0, which is a module that you do prior to starting your first module. Module 0, the focus is on teaching the instructional moves rather than on teaching and building content knowledge. Then you've got your core texts, which most of you guys have already have access to. There's a teacher edition, and then if you purchase an assessment pack. Students would need to have access to the core text as well as a student edition if it's purchased. And then families would need a parent tip sheet, and those are all available online. So you should have all of those items. The module cover, these are some of the module covers, and the module covers display visual art, some of which you may be familiar with. Visual art is an important piece of the curriculum because the art pieces serve as text to build knowledge. They are chosen for their complexity and the ability to build knowledge. And one huge reason why art is integrated into the curriculum is because it is accessible by all thinkers, all readers, all writers, regardless of their reading ability, their reading levels, etc. Art is accessible and engaging for all students. So we are going to do a little practice with a piece of art. This art piece comes from a 6th grade module, and we're going to play with this piece just a little bit. So there are components of this particular activity that are often better when you get a chance to talk to a group who's examining the same piece of art. And you'll notice that in the curriculum, when there is an art piece, that there's a lot of student-to-student interaction when you're analyzing the art. So here's the piece of artwork that we're looking at. On a scratch sheet of paper, just record what things you notice about the painting. Now that you have a few things written down about your noticings, I'm going to deepen your exploration of the piece of art by asking another question. What is happening artistically in this painting? So in other words, how is the painting organized visually? For this, you would want to look at such aspects of the painting as color, the way that darkness and lightness is used in the painting, lines, objects, people, all of those things. So what is happening artistically? So let's look specifically at just color and light. So look really, really closely. Where do you see color contrasts, light and darkness contrasts, and what could they possibly mean? What does the use of color and light reveal in the painting? What do you think the essential meaning of this painting might be? Now, I'm going to share some information about the painting and the artist and the time period that it was painted in to build your knowledge. This painting is called Nighthawks. The artist is Edward Hopper and was painted during 1942. So you know that during that time, in history, World War II was being fought. Hopper is widely known and recognized as an American realistic painter. He's really known for depicting subjects isolated in public places. In most of his paintings, you would see that. Edward Hopper studied commercial illustrations first and then switched to fine art. He was a fan of the movies. He lived in Greenwich Village, but it is unclear whether or not this diner is a real diner or one that's imagined. Now that you know more information about the painting and the painter, how does that study, that closer study of Nighthawks, add to your knowledge that you used and that you were building just through observation? So the big question when you go through a lesson such as the one you did with Nighthawks is, what difference does it make to work through a new text with a strategic sequence of questions rather than just being told to discuss what you see? This is a conversation that you will have off and on in your PLC work. It makes a huge difference when the questions are strategically sequenced, because they're sequenced in a way that allows kids to access the text at the beginning and look at the big picture of it, look at what they notice, what they wonder, which cannot be wrong if a kid is using their eyes and they are noticing and wondering. And then you learn just a little bit more, you wonder just a little bit more, you notice just a little bit more, then you learn more about the content, about the artist, before you come to an understanding of what you think the text really is and what the meaning might be. So what would happen now if I put up another painting by Hopper? What do you notice and wonder immediately in this painting? So what you just experienced is the way that the content questions are aligned in an individual lesson. We are going to look closer at the way that content is approached over each module. And the first thing I wanted to do, though, was talk to you about this particular book, Thunder Rolling in the Mountains, by Scott O'Dell and Elizabeth Hall. This is a fifth grade novel that is connected with the first module for fifth grade Wit and Wisdom. And when I first started working with the schools, a couple of schools who were implementing Wit and Wisdom, I was assigned fifth grade to be the instructional coach with the fifth grade group. This was our first text, and I read it and I was like, meh, that was all right. I thought it was too bloody. I didn't really connect with the characters very well. I was unimpressed. I was not really sure why the module authors had chosen this text. It was a complete mystery to me. As I studied further the module with the fifth grade teachers, though, I realized that this novel was not introduced until day 12 of the module. From days 1 through 11, the students were building background knowledge about the Nez Perce tribes and their people, what they believed, what contributions they make to the world, and what they made at the time period that this was written. And as I worked through that and built a greater understanding of these people, I then reread the novel starting with lesson 12 as we worked through each of the lessons, and I cried. I bawled my eyes out because I had finally figured out how to actually connect with the characters in this book, because I didn't know very much about the tribe and about what had actually happened to them in the past. it really impacted my understanding and my connection to this book. After I had built that knowledge, I was amazed at the difference that I had with this novel. So, as a reader, to work through the depths of the text rather than staying on the surface level of the text, it really impacted my thinking about this particular novel. The content stages that go along with wit and wisdom require you to go through a depth of understanding to be able to access their text. So there are 5 content stages. The first one is wonder. The second one is organize. The third is reveal, and there are lots and lots and lots of reveal lessons because reveal can go 1,000 different ways. The fourth is distill, and then the fifth is the know. So if you think about it, just like my experience with Thunder Rolling in a Mountain, the experience that you had with the Edward Hopper painting Nighthawks is very similar in what we did with this content framing. I asked you to notice and wonder, then I'll ask you to look at the organization of the piece and think about that. And then I revealed more information for you to be able to come up with some knowledge about Hopper to be able to connect it to other paintings.